that he was able to make it. Spoke to him several months ago, and he's like, if you get me a 10:45 flight back to DC, because I teach in Yeshiva High School in the morning, I can't be late. I'm like, come on, we could do a 6 a.m., we could be a little bit late. No, I gotta be there, I'm like, do planes fly at 10:45? To know Rabbi Teitelbaum is to know the Energizer Bunny. Rabbi Teitelbaum rarely sleeps, and he flies here, he flies there, he knows when all the latest flights are. Anyway, then my wife gave me a hard time. She's like, he's flying in about 6 o'clock, he's flying out about 10 o'clock, what if he's a few hours delayed? That happens, I'm like, well, I guess based on his merits, that's not going to happen. We're glad to have him here tonight. Rabbi Teitelbaum is the founder and director of Masora DC in the DC area, a hub for young Jewish professionals. He's executive director of Sinai Retreats. Many people here in this crowd have students or friends who have kids who have gone on this wonderful program, Sinai Retreats in Lake George, that he runs every year. They had a little mini barbecue with a bunch of his students who have become more Jewishly involved, and they moved into the community. And he really has students across the world. He's going to be speaking this evening about the art of forgiveness. He has a flight, and he needs to be out of here like 9 on the button, so I'm not going to speak anymore. Without further ado, Rabbi Teitelbaum. One more thing, our good friend Arlene Person has been a sponsor this evening.
And we go back. I know her quite well from Potomac.
He hooked up to the whole family years ago, and also thank you to Dr. Jimmy Mott.
Thank you, Rabbi Federer, for inviting me out here. Have the opportunity to speak before Yom Kippur. Also, shout out to Rabbi Goldstein, who worked very closely with him. I got a chance to meet many of his students, or Federer students, over the years at Sinai Retreats, and it's a pleasure to be here tonight. So, Yom Kippur. One of the first thoughts when you think about Yom Kippur, there's this young boy that walks into a shul a little before Yom Kippur, and he's staring at a plaque, something like that, staring at a plaque on a wall. Doesn't know what to make of this plaque. And finally he asks the rabbi, what is this plaque that I'm looking at? The rabbi says, actually, it's a little sad. Those are men that died in the service. She goes, which service? Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur. So if I had to ask you, how many people here are looking forward to Yom Kippur? Okay, you got at least 3. Wow. Okay. Right. Most of us are not looking for Yom Kippur. We think of it as a very intense day. We think of the day, no eating, a lot of fasting. It's really tough, and it really is on some level. I'd like to share with you a whole different perspective about Yom Kippur. Actually, the great Baal Shem Tov, the famous Hasidic master, said he doesn't look forward to paradise, because in paradise there won't be Yom Kippur. So he said there's something about Yom Kippur that's very special, that's very magical, that we really should look forward to. I want to share with you a little bit about that till the end. The truth is, it's the holiest day of the year. And if it's the holiest day of the year, it's hard to reconcile with the fact that we spend all day in confession, reading about dredging up all the ugly things we might have done over the course of the year. And we do this 10 times over the course of Rosh Hashanah. And we think about all those things we didn't get right and we did wrong. How are you supposed to feel holy? You're spending the whole day thinking about the sins that you committed. It seems to be so inconsistent with the holiness of the day. So maybe we've got it wrong. Maybe if that's what's happening when we say confession, we really don't have it right. We need to understand what the purpose of a confession really is. I don't know if you know, there was a particular event. Every holiday has at least one event that's associated with that holiday. If I had to ask you what event took place in Yom Kippur, well, Passover we know. We left Egypt, so I identified Passover with our freedom. Shavuot, we got the Torah, so I associated the holiday Shavuot with the Torah. What event took place in Yom Kippur? The answer is that Moses came down with the second tablets after the sin of the golden calf, and God said, I forgive you. So the first forgiveness that was doled out by God to the Jewish people took place on Yom Kippur. Okay, that's nice. But you know what's really interesting? On that very day, Moshe Rabbeinu asked God, I need to ask you a question. Could you please explain to me your ways? Which the Talmud explains means, he was asking God, could you explain to me why bad things happen to good people? Now we know that's one of the most challenging questions. We've all asked ourselves that question. We know that's probing the deepest mysteries of the world. Let's take a step back for a second. The Jewish people, God almost wants to annihilate them after the sin of the golden calf. And Moses pleads on their behalf, says, please, please spare them. And they survive by the skin of their teeth. And then Moses said, oh, by the way, could you share with me the deepest secrets? Is that the right time to do it? That's really bad timing, right? You know, just slink away. You got the forgiveness and move on. Find a better time when everyone's in a happier mood. This doesn't make much sense. Why is the time that Moses is asking this question? And perhaps it's because we don't understand the nature of that as well. You know, we tend to think of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur as two bookends of the high holidays, and they certainly are, but they're very distinctly different. As I mentioned, on Yom Kippur, we do a lot of confessing. 10-fold confession over the course of Yom Kippur. Rosh Hashanah, not one, 0. Even though it's called a day of judgment. On Rosh Hashanah, we don't confess, because on Rosh Hashanah, we stand before God as a servant in front of a king. And we're pronouncing and proclaiming and coronating God as our king. And we stand as a servant, ready to do his bidding. So on the day of a coronation of a king, do you think it's wise to say to the king, let me tell you all the ways I was disrespectful to you over the past year. Let me tell you how many ways I ignored you over the year. That would be something raining on his parade. He was supposed to be coronating God, and would tell him all that would take away from his kingship. No confession, Rosh Hashanah. However, on Yom Kippur, our approach to God is not as a servant to a king, but a child to a parent. A child to a parent is a whole different ballgame. When a child has a relationship with a parent, and the child feels that he messed up, and he feels terrible about it, and then he confesses. That confession itself is a catharsis. The parent loves to hear it, but when the child unburdens himself, they actually become closer. You know, in marriage, you have fights, you have arguments, but there are good arguments and bad arguments. A good argument will end up this way, that both sides see the other person's perspective, and you gain a little more respect for the other person, and they actually become closer because of that argument. So in a sense, when a child approaches a parent and says, I really messed up, I feel terrible, I did something to our relationship, I abused it, that fosters a deeper closeness. There was a famous Rebbe, who was known as Kaddish Rabbi, and he was known infamously, or famously rather, for always seeing the good of the Jewish people. No matter what, he always saw the good of the Jewish people. The classic story they tell, by the way, is he saw somebody smoking on Yom Kippur. He says, I guess you didn't know it's Yom Kippur. He goes, I know it's Yom Kippur. He goes, I guess you didn't realize you shouldn't really smoke on Yom Kippur. I know you can't smoke on Yom Kippur. I guess you just couldn't help yourself. You had to smoke. No, I can help myself. So he turns to God, the Bishop says, God, even when the Jews sin, they can't lie. So he always tried to see the good in every single person. And you know what he said to God on Yom Kippur? He said, God, I want to tell you something. It's true. The Jewish people sin. Anybody here know Yiddish? Nobody knows Yiddish? Bissel, okay. I'm going to say Yiddish first because it just sounds better, but I'll translate. He said, I know the Jewish people, they've sinned. But if they didn't sin, would you ever get a chance to hear such a Zisa Shamdu? Would you ever get a chance to hear such a sweet confession? The confession of a Jew on Yom Kippur is sweet. If you've been to shul, it's actually very often with a melodious tune. It's a yearning, it's a closeness. So my question to you was, how do you feel holy on a day you're dredging up all the ugliness? No. Yom Kippur is a day where we unite with God as a parent and a child together. And the confession actually brings you closer. Not to feel ugly, you should feel closer because of the process. And so really we should look forward to Yom Kippur because it's an opportunity for a child to reunite with the parent. And the parent wants that reunification as much as the child wants it as well. So today we should look forward to. If we're coming to God as a child to a parent, you also have to recognize that I'm not the only child. In my, obviously God thinks of me as an only child, thinks all of us as only child. But we have to recognize that everybody else is a child of God as well. And if we want God to see us as his child, we should really be treating everybody else as his children too. And to the extent that we recognize and treat everyone else as God's children, then we get that special attention as God's child himself. So that's where we get into the idea of forgiveness. Why forgiveness is so special, why forgiveness is so important. And the act of forgiveness, as I just said now, can actually bring you closer to a person. Closer to God, certainly. And the point of Yom Kippur is to feel close to God. The confession actually draws us closer. And it's important to ask ask forgiveness from others. And we focus on that as well as to be forgiven by others. So, one should see an opportunity to ask forgiveness. You hurt somebody's feelings? See it as an opportunity. There's a beautiful story about the Teitelbaum, one of the greatest sages of the past generation. And Teitelbaum was a very busy man. He was a major Torah scholar, studied literally day and night. I had to visit him a few times, 4 o'clock in the morning, because he was up all day, all night. All right? He'd fall asleep once in a while, but he never went to sleep. And it seems he wouldn't really go to many bar mitzvahs or weddings, because then everybody wanted to come, and it would just be impossible. Anyway, he shows up at this boy's bar mitzvah. No one knew he was coming. He walks up to the boy, sits down next to him on the dais, whispers something to his ear. The boy shakes his head. The sniper waits for a few moments, then he's off on his way. Everyone's thinking, who is this boy? This special boy. He must be some holy Jew that's a hidden tzaddik. Who is this person? So finally, the boy said, I have to confess. No big holy Jew at all. But I'll tell you what happened. When I was 8 years old, I came to pray in the sniper's shul. And I was praying. The sniper thought I was just fooling around, because I was holding my sitter upside down. And I was like, going through the motions. So the sniper came over and said, listen, shul is not a place to play, to play. If you want to pray, great, then pray seriously. Don't hold the sitter upside down. Go out and play. And I showed to him I wasn't fooling around. The binding was upside down, so it looked like my sitter was upside down. It was really good. So the sniper said, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm really sorry. When's your bar mitzvah? Okay. Told him the date. Thought nothing of it. Now the truth is, you can't ask forgiveness of a minor, because a minor is not capable in Jewish law of giving full forgiveness. So the sniper said, I have to wait for the first possible moment when he turned bar mitzvah. That moment he shows up at the mitzvah to ask forgiveness of the little boy that he hurt just a little bit. A great man is a person who's able to ask forgiveness. The question is, why do we have a hard time forgiving? So I'm going to teach you a skill that hopefully most of you learned in school, but if not, I don't know, you should get your money back, tuition-wise for sure, right? And then I'm going to teach you a skill called how to catch a monkey. Have you ever heard of catch a monkey? No? This is serious stuff. This is serious business, okay? I want to teach you how to catch a monkey. This is really true. I want you to Google this later on. You can Google this later. You go to your local forest. Okay, step number 1. Makes sense? All right? Then you take a box, and you put 2 bananas in the box, 2 apples, whatever the case is. And the box is obviously enclosed on all sides. You nail it to the wall of the trunk of the tree. Except for this part of the box that's exposed to the outside, you have 2 holes. All right? The monkey smells the fruit, heads for the box, sticks his hands into the box, grabs the fruit. But now his fists, with the fruit inside, are larger than the holes they thrust his hands into. But he won't let go of the fruit. And now, that's how you catch a monkey. Now, why am I telling you this? Because we're laughing at that monkey, but it's really us sometimes. We get stuck in life because we also don't know how to let go. We don't know how to let go of our grudges. And maybe Shabbat, we don't know how to let go of our cell phones on a vacation also. We don't know how to let go. And sometimes we have a hard time forgiving because we don't know how to let go. Let's learn that lesson from the monkey. It seems so ridiculous, but he's stuck because he won't let go. And often in life, we get stuck and we don't let go. And this, if you really think about it, it's kind of backwards. When somebody, let's say somebody really hurt you badly, and now you're the victim. Who wants to feel like a victim? Because if you're the victim, that means the person that victimized you is in control. You know how you get back control? By forgiving that person. Until you forgive that person, he has you. You're full of anger towards him, and you're a victim. You can reverse the role, right, by forgiving. So you're actually harming yourself by playing the victim and continuously taking on that role. Whereas you forgive, you now seize control of the situation. But we're stubborn. We're very stubborn. But ultimately, it's for our benefit to learn how to forgive. Often, we also take things personally. People hurt our feelings and we get really upset. And the truth of the matter is, sometimes we got it all wrong. She could know this story. There's a woman that was had a very nasty divorce from her husband. Really nasty, ugly divorce. She hadn't seen him for years and years. She's walking down the street of her town, and up ahead, she sees her ex-husband. And she's filled with rage. She hasn't seen him in years, and she never was able to, come to any sort of resolution or any, and she runs up behind him. She has a pocketbook and starts smashing over the head. She just reacts in such anger, smash him on the head. Turns around, it wasn't her ex-husband. It was the rabbi in town. And now she is totally embarrassed and apologizing. Please forgive me, forgive me. You know what the rabbi said? Why are you apologizing? You weren't hitting me, you were hitting your ex-husband. You know what's going on, people? So many times in life, we become a target. And it's not right. I'm not condoning the other person for dumping on you, but so often it has nothing with you. You just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Someone's in a bad mood, something else happened, and they dump on you. And it doesn't make it right. I'm not excusing them. I'm not. But at the same time, why are you personalizing when half the time it's not you? When you're a teacher in school and a teenager acts out in class, the last thing you should do is personalize. It has nothing to do with you. He got something from his parents the night before, or his friends ignored him, whatever the case is. So often we personalize, but it's not personal at all. We have to be able to take that back and realize that it really has nothing to do with us at all. You know, there's a famous passage in the Chumash, in Parashat Mishpatim. It goes like this. There is a halacha, we can't eat a treif animal. Treif animal means an animal that in theory could be kosher, like a sheep, but if an animal attacked it and made it unhealthy, it damaged one of its internal organs, one of major organs, it's called treif, and we can't eat that animal, right? And the Torah says, "La kelef tashlichon also." You know what you can do? Take that animal that you can only get and throw it to, let your dog enjoy the fruit of the man. That's it. Now it's fascinating, because which dog is this? This is the dog that normally is there to watch the sheep so it doesn't get attacked by an animal. So your dog messed up, right? He messed up and then the animal got attacked. Why in the world was Torah saying, reward your animal and throw this animal that the carcass that he really was negligent in watching? So one of the great commentaries says, it's a very beautiful idea. You know, your dog's been loyal for 20 years. But you know what? You probably just take it for granted. The one time he messes up, that's when you get upset. So it says, no, this is time to take stock. He messed up now. That means the past 20 years, he was really doing his job. Often in life, we attack somebody or get upset at somebody because they did something to us. And 1 second, I've had this relationship with him for 20 years. And for 20 years, everything was great. So now there's one thing, I'm fixating on this one thing. Now's the time to appreciate. Sometimes it's the reverse. If this is the time they did something they shouldn't have done, look at the 20 years, they were doing good for you. How about we just focus on one thing, on one incident, rather than focusing on the much bigger picture? So the Torah says, look at the big picture. Don't just fix it on this one moment. Sometimes we have to realize and put ourselves in their position and realize that something they did to us, I can understand under the circumstances. I will share with you a very difficult story, actually. During the war in Germany, there were two very close friends, and one of them, next to the other, that he saw the handwriting on the wall. He saw Hitler coming to power. He knew it was not going to be good for the Jews, and he said he's been scrimping and saving money for the past few months to buy tickets, gets visas to get his family out of the country. And he didn't trust anybody to trust his friend. So I'm hiding all this money in the Aron Kodesh, in the Ark. Next day, this fellow goes to the Ark to get the money. It's gone. You know why it's gone? Because the friend took the money and took his family out instead. Now fast forward a number of years. This fellow who had saved the money originally manages to escape himself with his family a little bit later on. He's walking in camp. He's visiting his son in camp. And as he's walking, he sees for the first time this person who used to be his friend, you know, that had taken the money. And as he's walking by, he gives like a half a nod. And the son says, like, who's this guy? I don't want to talk about who's this guy? What's this half a nod basis? He finally prodded out his father. And the son was so outraged. And that father said, you know, it took me years and years, but I thought about it. You know, maybe it was a little bit my fault. I put him in a situation that was so tempting. I don't know what I would have done myself. Again, we're not condoning, we're not condemning, but at least see from a different perspective that sometimes things are difficult for people, and we automatically are judging them. And in this case, who am I to judge? Maybe that was really an assignment, a temptation to save his family. I'm not saying it was right, and I was angry at him. But at least I can understand where he's coming from. See it from a different perspective as well. That's really important. And sometimes the stuff we're angry about is the opposite. It's really petty stuff. Really petty stuff. but our egos get in the way. There were two neighbors. They were really wonderful neighbors together. Until one fellow was rebuilding his fence, and the other neighbor claimed that he encroached by a half a foot on the property, and so that he claimed that he was taking over a half a foot of his property. And he said, "No, it's not. It's my property. No, it's not. It's my property." Back and forth. Then the wives got involved, and the kids got involved, and before you know it, it's like the McCoys and Hatfields. It's one of these huge fights that blows up, and now the whole community is taking sides, and this is horrible. So they go to the rabbi, and the rabbi tries to make peace, tries to get to the bottom of it. Nothing's happening, because each guy dictates his property. So the rabbi says, "You know what? There's only way to solve this problem. There's only one way. We're going to have to ask the ground itself." And look at him like, "Rabbi, what are you smoking? What does that mean? What's going on over here?" He said, "No, just show me the piece of property. I'll ask the ground." Okay, I walk over to the property. I thought the rabbi was, a pretty sane person, but this is like ridiculous. He leans over to the ground, and he shakes his head. "Yep, he got it right." I look at him, "What are you talking about?" He said, "The ground says that you, Reuven, so to speak, claim the land belongs to you. Shimon, you claim that the land belongs to you. The ground says, not too long of time, both of you are going to belong to him." Sometimes we get outside and we get so focused on something. At the end of the day, look at the big picture. Look at the big picture. What are you fighting over? So we have to learn how to let go, and it's not easy sometimes, but we're as foolish as a monkey because we're only hurting ourselves, because we're allowing ourselves to be a victim. And sometimes we have to see things from another person's perspective, as difficult as it might be. And sometimes we have to look at a whole picture. Yes, he messed me up now, but look at the past 20 years, what a great friend he's been. And sometimes it's really, really petty stuff. But I want to share with you a different perspective. I live in Washington, I live in Salisbury, but I do a lot of teaching in Washington. They call Washington, by the way, the Hollywood for ugly people. That's what they call it, but anyway. But Washington, it's a fascinating town. And I run a synagogue pretty close by to the White House. And any day you walk past the White House, there are people always marching up and down, protesting. Any given day, there's always somebody protesting. Now, there's one thing I noticed after a little while. I see people protesting their rights all the time. Demanding their rights. I've never, ever seen somebody protesting, demanding to know their responsibilities. Never heard that, right? I never said, "I want to know my responsibilities." Never happens. Everyone demands their rights. Everyone thinks about things. I have a right. Responsibility? I'm not so interested in knowing about that. So I want to share with you about responsibility of the victim, the one that was offended. Now, what do you mean? If I was offended, I have rights. You did this to me, you have to make amends. The Torah has a different perspective, and that is the person offended has responsibilities too. Wow, what does that mean? So, always consult our Torah, consult the Chumash. Most of you are familiar with the story of Yosef and the brothers. The brothers sold Yosef down the river, not a real nice thing. At the end of the day, they regret it because they realized he really was a good person. They thought he was trying to be subversive. Not for now to go into details. At the end of the day, they realized they were wrong. And they're shattered when they discovered that this Yosef is a great man. At this point, if you study the Torah, it's fascinating what Yosef says. Yosef says, "Hey, don't get so upset. Don't get so upset. You know what? At the end of the day, look how it worked out for the best. Because now that I'm second in command to Paro, I can actually take care of you guys. Set you up in a city called Goshen, provide for you." That's what Yosef's doing with a sense of responsibility. His brothers are shattered. They're devastated by what they did. They're broken. He feels, as the offended party, the responsibility to restore their self-esteem. Who thinks that way? It's an amazing thing. Again, they have to be sincerely remorseful. If they weren't remorseful about it, then he's simply, aiding them. He's just really enabling them. That wouldn't be right, obviously. But if they're sincerely remorseful, then the injured party has a responsibility as well, not just a right. You know what? You really felt badly about it. I have to show you that all is forgiven. Otherwise, that person will also broken the rest of his life. Let me share with you a story that happened about 10 years ago. And it's a sad story. Spoiler alert, it's a sad story. It doesn't end well. It was a fellow that had to do, took place in Israel actually. somebody was, had to do carpool. Father had to do carpool that day. And for whatever reason, he just didn't do carpool. He calls over his neighbor and says, listen, neighbor, you're a great guy. I know you have a big van. I know you pass by the school. Do you mind taking all the kids for carpool today? Drop them off. He says, sure, not a problem. My pleasure. The old pack into his van, drives him to school. Everything's fine. Midday, the principal calls up the father and says, by the way, where's his son? He hasn't shown up to school today. What do you mean his son hasn't shown up to school? I sent him off to school with my neighbor and with everybody else. I don't know, I see other kids here, but he's not here. So they start looking around the school. They can't find him. They're looking around the block. They can't find him. What happened was actually, this driver didn't even know how many kids were in his van because they just sent a whole bunch of busload of these kids into his van. And the kid, this boy, fell asleep in the van. It was a boiling hot day. All the windows were closed. I don't have to tell you how it ended. Terrible story. The person is devastated. He's also arrested for second degree manslaughter. And he's also told that he's not permitted to walk within 3-block radius of that person's house. You're gonna aggravate those people, can't walk within 3 blocks. They were not neighbors, but they were, a few blocks away. Anyway, the parents are sitting shivering for their child. And the father says, hey, where's so-and-so? He was a friend of his. He said, oh, no, he's not here. In fact, a judge ordered that he can't, or restraining order, he can't come near the house. He says, you tell the judge to lift that restraining order. I want him to come to my house. So the judge says, okay, lift the restraining order. Lift the restraining order. And the fellow was told that the father said he wants you to come. That's the last place he wanted to go. You can imagine. The father says, they're old friends. He walks into the house, takes one step in, and his heart's, just like beating, 100 miles an hour. Everyone's like kind of fixated on him. It's a very tense moment. And he's hesitant, but he has to come. The father sees him. He gets up. He walks over to him. And then he gives him the biggest hug and says, I forgive you. I really forgive you. I still love you. And then they both begin to cry. A really good cry. Do you hear the brilliance and the beauty of what that man did, that father? He knew this fellow meant no ill will. He was trying to do him a favor. I'm not pointing to responsibility. He shouldn't even know how many kids, not. This fellow knew, this father knew, if I don't forgive him, this person will not have a life for the rest of his life. He'll walk around being a broken person. He still will have a hard time, but at least he can stand up in the morning. So this person gave him back his life by forgiving him. And the father felt the responsibility, not just the right. I have rights, I'm the victim. But you know what? If it was genuine and you messed up and you feel really bad about it, I have a responsibility to give you back your life. And he gave him back his life. It's a powerful story. You can admire that father in ways that, wow, that's totally amazing. What grew him, what strength it took. But this fellow understood that there are rights and there are responsibilities. And even as the hurt party, we have responsibility too. Okay, so we know that it's hard to forgive. Sometimes we hard time to let go. Sometimes we're just too petty. Sometimes we don't see things in their perspective. Sometimes we personalize things. But now let's talk about the shoe on the other foot. Why is it hard to bring that forgiveness? Why is it hard to forgive? Aside from letting go, there's an aspect of the ego. There's an aspect of the ego, right? Our ego's been bruised. It's pride, right? And to say that, I've forgiven you, right? It's hard to do. There's a lot of pride involved. A lot of pride. And the person that was harmful has to say, I'm sorry. But it's hard to say, I'm sorry. And that's also obviously because of the pride involved. But it's another reason why we have a hard time saying, I'm sorry. And that's because, they say in life, there are 4 things that a person needs to survive. Food and water, shelter, clothing, and someone to blame, right? You need to have someone to blame. It's never your fault. It's always someone else's fault. That's a given, right? So that's why we have a hard time asking forgiveness. What do you mean forgiveness? It's not my fault, it's his fault. It's always somebody else's fault. It's never your fault. Being able to take responsibility is huge. There's actually a very famous story in the Talmud going a little from a tangent, but it's a very important story in general about taking responsibility. Actually, there's a story about this fellow that he's interviewing for a job, and that the guy interviewing the boss said, "Listen, you need somebody that's very responsible." He goes, "That's me." He said, why do you think that's you?" He says, "Because my last job, every time something went wrong, they said I was responsible." Right? The truth of the matter is, let's go to the Gemara and Avodah Zarah. There's a fellow by the name of Elazar ben Judayah. Elazar, no rabbi, Elazar ben Judayah. Now this guy was no rabbi. In fact, he was the opposite of a rabbi. He did everything possibly and no rule. He was a hedonist. Talmud says that all he did was indulge in pleasures, the most intimate pleasures, the most indulgent pleasures. He visited, says, every harlot. That's what he did. That's all he did his whole life. And then he heard about this beautiful woman, and he was determined to be with her too. And when he got to her, and he had to cross the sea and spend a whole bunch of money to be with her, she made some sort of comment like, "You must be a real low-life genius," right? now, when a rabbi gives you a sermon, you take it, don't take it. But if a harlot gives you a little mussar and tells you you're doing it wrong, right? You're doing something wrong, then it's home. So it really hit home. And it says he began to cry. It says he cried to the mountains, and they didn't respond. He cried to the sun and the moon, they didn't respond. He cried to the heaven and earth, they didn't respond. Then he cried to the stars, they didn't respond. Then he sat down, and he cried. He said, "Hey, Hadavar, totally Elobi. I guess it's really up to me. It's me." And then a voice rang out from heaven and said, "Rabbi Elazar ben Judayah." Gets a title rabbi. Oh, it should be so easy to become a rabbi like that. Boom, Rabbi Elazar ben Judayah. All is forgiven. What's going on over here? Was he crying to the mountains? Was he crying to the sun and the moon? The mountains in very from the Jewish literature refer to pyramids. Sometimes it refers to mountains. And Elizabeth said, "You know what? It's not my fault. My parents raised me. They didn't do a good job. I am because my parents messed me up. Not my fault." Doesn't ring true. He tries another tack. He says, "You know what? Heaven and earth represents the environment. I'm a product of my environment. That's why it's not my fault. This is the environment I grew up in. These are the people I had, the friends that I had. It's not my fault." Doesn't ring true. Tries again. Sun and the moon. In those days, the economy was agricultural based, was dependent very much on the sun and the moon. I'm a product of the fact that I didn't have the money to have a proper education, and I think it was tough. It's not my fault. Doesn't ring true. Tries one more. Cries to the stars. Mazel, fate. That's my fate. This is what I'm supposed to be. That's destined to be. And again, it doesn't ring true. And then he realizes, Ein Hadavar Telo Elobi. It really is me. I have to take ownership. I have to take responsibility. And when he did that, he was given that title. You know why? Because he taught us a valuable lesson. He's a rabbi. He taught us that even in the last moments of a person's life, when he hits rock bottom, he can assume responsibility and turn his life around. But it took him a while before he got to that. He was blaming everybody for his lousy life. It's not my fault, it's my parents, my friends, my environment, and we're great at playing the blame game. It's everybody's fault but our own. I should apologize to him, it's not my fault. But sometimes looking at everybody else, partial blame. Right? Maybe it's two sides of the story, but partial blame. So be the man and take the first step. Ask for apologies, ask forgiveness. The truth is also that sometimes the reason why we don't apologize is because we think the other person is kind of blowing things out of proportion. I didn't really do anything, I just said this, but it's not a big deal, right? So we're not sensitive to the fact that maybe it is a big deal. So I want to share with you a passage in the Chumash, in the Torah, that is so fascinating. It's unbelievable. Now I read this, and that's the beauty of the Torah. You can read the same Torah verse 100 times. And it's only the 100th time you go, wow, I didn't notice that before. I'll share with this story. I actually want to start with the story first, all right? So I run this program called Saturday Retreats. And it's a beautiful 100-acre retreat. If you know Lake George, they're out around the mountains. Anyway, there's somebody I know very well that one of the things he does is he tries to give a break to those people that have a hard time in life. Divorced mothers, he has like a whole thing where he rents that hotel and literally pampers them for a weekend. And he finds babysitting for their kids because they're sometimes very neglected in life. And it just gives them a good weekend to relax and enjoy. And he called me and said, "I couldn't get a hotel this year. Could we use your space for these people?" I said, "You know what? Sounds like a beautiful thing. Let's do it." Okay. So These women come, about 80 women come to this place, and they stay with us. And I show them their rooms, wherever I tell them the rooms are. They come back 3 minutes later to the lobby, and they're yelling and screaming. Yelling and screaming. And I like, whoa, I'm like vicious. And finally they said, no soap, there's no soap, there's no shampoo. And I'm thinking, huh? And I realized when they went to hotels, you expect, hotels, but you go to a retreat, you normally kind of do your own thing, you bring your own thing. I said, listen, chill out, it's okay. There's a store down the block, I'll get you all that stuff. Take you 5 minutes. Yelling, they wouldn't stop yelling and screaming. I couldn't get it. Why are they so upset? I couldn't get it. Until I studied this verse a couple of years later, and I finally figured it out. Listen to this verse. The Torah tells us the following. The Torah says to be careful for the orphan and the widow. The less fortunate people, but certainly the orphan and widow. And it says the following. If you cause pain to the orphan and widow, and they cry out to me, Shemoa Eshma Kolam, I will hear their cries and punish you severely. Be careful to the orphan and widow. Okay. Now I read that verse 100 times, maybe more. Then I saw somebody ask this question. Famous Hasidic rabbi read something. Just, something odd about that verse. I'll say it a little slower. Every verb in that verse was repeated twice. Im a'aneh, sa'aneh. If you cause pain. V'tza'ak yitzak, and they cry, Shemoa eshma, I will hear. Now, it's not unusual. You sometimes will see a verse repeat a verb twice, and it's for emphasis. And you'll see the English translation will be something like, if you will surely cause them pain, and they will surely cry, I will surely hear. That's what the word surely comes, it's for emphasis. But it's really odd that every single verb is repeated twice. So Tzaddik says, what's going on? So Tzaddik gives a brilliant insight. Now I'm going to share with you, he says it in a different language. I'm going to use the language of psychology. But psychologists, they've come up with this terminology in the past 30 years or so. But they're a little slow in the tape. The Torah had this downright 3,000 years ago, right? But listen to what the psychologists say. Every person carries with them primary hurts and secondary hurts. Primary pains and secondary pains. I'll give you an example. I'm using myself as an example. It doesn't apply to me, of course not. But, okay, I come home and I take my jacket and I put it on top of the dining room chair. My wife says to me, why do you keep putting the jacket on the chair? Why don't you hang it up? And I'm thinking, okay, what's the big deal? It's just like, okay, I'm sorry, I'll put it in the closet. Now, what she was doing was sharing all your secondary pain, which is why you're putting the jacket on the chair. What she's really feeling is, why do you keep ignoring me? Or do you think I'm your servant? That's the primary pain. But most people won't share their primary pains. Either they're not aware of themselves, or they don't make themselves as vulnerable, so they won't say it. So all I'm hearing is there's a jacket on the chair. So I'm fixing the jacket on the chair. Okay, big deal, I'll put the jacket in the closet. What are you making a big deal about a small thing? Because I see it as a small thing. No, it's a big thing. Why do you keep ignoring me? It's a big thing. Who do you think I am? Listen to what the Torah is saying. When you hurt an orphan or a widow, there's 2 pains you're causing them. Pain number 1, whatever you said to hurt them. Pain number 2, the orphan's thinking, man, if I had a father, this probably wouldn't be happening to me. It doesn't have to be true, but that's their perception. The widow might say the same thing. If I had a husband to protect me, I wouldn't be treated this way. It doesn't have to be true, but that's what's going on. So the Torah repeats every verb twice. Listen, if you cause pain, you know why it says the word pain twice? Because it's a primary pain and a secondary pain. And they cry out. You know why it says the word cry twice? Because they're crying for 2 things. They're crying for their secondary pain, but they're crying about their primary pain. Shema Esh, I'm going to hear both. It says the word Shema twice, because I'm going to hear both their pains, the secondary and primary. Now let's go back to my story. I was a little slow on the tape. I didn't realize when they're yelling about the shampoo, it had nothing to do with the shampoo. That was his secondary pain. What they were saying is, if I had a husband, this wouldn't be happening to me. And it's not true. It happens to be not true, but that doesn't make a point. Make a difference. That's what they really felt. I missed the point totally. I thought they're talking about shampoo. They're not talking about shampoo. So sometimes when a person gets upset at you and say, what's the big deal? It's because you're not sensitive to realize they're sharing this secondary pain. There's something much deeper going on. There's a primary pain. But to be sensitive as well. And for that we have to apologize and become more sensitive too. So we talked about forgiving others. We talked about responsibility for forgiving others. We talked about why it's difficult or what the challenges. I want to share 2 other kinds of forgiveness, so we'll end here. There's a story about a great man, Rabbi. He's a great Torah sage. And his father got sick. And he stayed by his father's bedside for literally months. He was a famous teacher, and he wouldn't leave his father's bedside. To the point where he was unhealthy for him. He was getting sick himself, but he insisted on being there with his father just to help him, just in case. The students said, we need you. We need you. You know, you're our lifeblood. And he just wouldn't go. And finally, he let himself be convinced, and he went to be with the students to teach them. 3 days later, his father died. He was so upset himself. Oh, if I would have been there, maybe it could have, should have, could have, should have. And he went into a deep, almost depression. He was so upset, and he couldn't teach. He was non-functional. The Chofetz Chaim heard about this. Famous Chofetz Chaim. And he said, send me Rabbi, I want Rabbi to come to me. Rabbi came to him. Chofetz Chaim said, he heard the story, he said, you know what? You're a heretic. What? I'm a heretic? You're one of the greatest sages. He says, you don't believe in the Torah? He says, of course I believe in the Torah. He says, well, the Torah says something called tshuva. You ask forgiveness, and you're forgiven. You know what? Sometimes you have to forgive yourself, too. First of all, I didn't even know if you're staying there would have made a difference. But you have to learn there's something called forgiveness. And it also means forgiving yourself. Sometimes we beat ourselves up so much, we don't forgive ourselves. We can make mistakes too. We have to learn to forgive ourselves. Another level of forgiveness, forgiving ourselves. We have to realize that sometimes we make mistakes, we have to forgive ourselves and move on. Move on as well. And the Chofetz Chaim gave Rabbi permission to move on, so to speak. Because he felt so guilty of what he had done. And he said, you have to move on. You made a mistake, you can't wallow in guilt for the rest of your life. Move on, forgive yourself. I want to share with you one final story. A different kind of forgiveness. I mentioned before the Berditchev, the great Hasidic master, the Berditchev. And came Kol Nidre. Come Kol Nidre Tuesday night. He scans the room of his village. And he sees one person out there, Beryl. Beryl. He says, where's Beryl? They don't know Beryl. He says, well, go find Beryl. He's got to come in. So it's a small little town. They find Beryl. Beryl says, I'm not going. So what do you mean not going? He said, I'm not going anymore. I said, me and God, we're done. I don't pray no more. I'm finished. I'm done. So they go back to the Berditchev, and he said, listen, he tried. He says he's done. You tell Beryl, we're not starting until he comes. All right, you don't start with the Berditchev. Beryl, sheepishly comes back into the shul, and 3 weeks later, the Berditchev says, Beryl, what gives? What's going on over here? So the Gershling says, listen, I'm a furrier. People give me their furs. I make coats out of this. So this Polish lord had this fur. He wanted me to make a coat for him. I'm very good at this stuff. I was able to make the coat and still have enough mink spear left over, which he let me keep. And that was a lot of money. Those spears I was able to manage, to save. I said, okay, it's great. He said, no, but somebody broke into my house and stole it. How could God let this happen? I am so angry, I'm done. Done. So the Berditchev looks at him and says, listen, Beryl, it's Yom Kippur. Can't you find it in your heart to forgive God also, right? Sometimes we have issues. We think we're angry at God even if we don't get it right and treat him as God knows his best. But sometimes we have to let go of that too. If we don't have to forgive as well and realize, you know what? It's time to make reconciliations. I can't always be angry at God. Actually, the end of the story is that this Beryl said to the Berditchev, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with God. If God forgives everybody in this room, I'll forgive God too. And the Berditchev said to God, you hear that, God? I think that's a great deal. We're going to close the deal right now. But the truth of the matter is, there are 3 levels of forgiveness. There's forgiving other people, there's learning how to forgive yourself, and there's learning how to reconcile with God as well. And Yom Kippur, all 3 are applicable. We have to get back the relationship with God, and we have to see him as our Father, not just a melech, as a king. And a Father wants the reconciliation, and even the confession is something that actually is endearing to God. It's that Zisa Shama, that sweet confession. We have to learn how to forgive ourselves. We made a mistake. We have to move on. If we believe in tshuva, we move on. I did tshuva. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I move on. And again, we have to learn certainly how to forgive others. Forgiving others is really critical before Yom Kippur, because that's the merit that we can hang our hat on. God says, if you forgive others, I can forgive you. If you can see the good in others when it's hard to, I'll see the good in you when it's hard to as well. So if you want to really have an in with getting in, if you forgive others, God says, there's reciprocity here. You do for me, there's a quid pro quo. You forgive others, I'll forgive you too. And finally, It's interesting that the confession that we do on Yom Kippur is done in a communal way, which is unusual. No, confession should be private. Right? It should be private. It's between you and God. What do you confess to the whole world for? There's an element of confession that is private between you and God. But there's another element of confession. As a Jewish people, God says, I see you as an entity called Jewish people. And if you're part of the Jewish people, you get this partial acquittal just by being part of the Jewish people. Membership has its privileges. And to the extent that we're part of the Jewish people, and we see we're part of the Jewish people, and we want to be part of the Jewish people, God gives an automatic, it's called Itzuma Shayom. There's an automatic partial acquittal just for the Jewish people, because God guaranteed the Jewish people eternity. So to the extent that we forgive others and show that we want to be part of a larger group, it's not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about others. To the extent that I want to show God that I'm thinking about not just me, I'm thinking about the group. I want to be part of a group. God says, then you're in. Then the group has special privileges, and you get a partial acquittal. So, anytime you're preparing for a defense, you're going to the jury, you got to prepare yourself. You got to have the adequate defense. The defense we have for ourselves is if we show God that we really care about others too. We care about his other children. And we're now part of a group, and we get that partial acquittal. And if we give others the benefit of the doubt, God will do the same for us. Then we can be rest assured that all of us have something to look forward to Yom Kippur, not to dread. It's an opportunity for reconciliation, an opportunity to get close. This sweet confession that allows us to feel closer. I might add, after Yom Kippur, a person shall walk away cleansed and feeling free and liberated. And to the extent that we don't, it's probably because we've never experienced that ourselves. When we forgive others, we forgive them, but we leave a little bit of a grudge over in the back, just in case we want to use it later on. We've never perhaps experienced full forgiveness. And so we can't imagine that God fully forgives us. But the truth of the matter is, when God forgives us, it's absolute and total and full. So we should all walk away after we have a productive and meaningful Yom Kippur, feeling good, proud, and ready to take on the next year. I want to wish everybody here a Gemach Simon, a good year. We should all be sealed in the book of life, of health, and a meaningful and productive year. Shana Tova.